Right, this evening, unfortunately Alex hasn't got a voice, so I'll be chairing the meeting for tonight. Would like to I'd like to open the meeting, and the first thing on the agenda is apologies for absence.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Mayor. We have apologies from Councillor Joanne Tully, Councillor David Tully, Councillor Nair, Councillor Mann, who has no engagement, Councillor Wilkinson, who is unwell, Councillor Bell, who has a home crisis, and Councillors Christie and Joyce Clark on the group.
And the next thing on the agenda is declarations of interest. I've got one as well.
John's obviously the bank group, I don't want to hold
Item 8, yeah.
Is that the same?
Yeah, Jim, and I'm the same,
Yeah, oh, have it.
and Mark.
You must have man that off the last time, man. This is good one.
Anybody else? Same. Any more declarations of interest for anything? No? Move on to the next item, the Mayor's announcements.
The Town Mayor has attended, this is going to be a bit of a triple act because I'm going to get other people that were at these events to talk about it. On the 2nd of February, the Town Mayor attended a charity presentation regarding pantomimes.
That was the Ox Hill Youth Club had the pantomime, and Alex received a cheque for Willoughby Hospice from Ox Hill Youth Club.
On the 6th and 7th of February, the Town Mayor attended the Superstar Showcases, which were organised by Stanley Learning Partnership.
Yeah, all 5 councillors that joined this with a myth all attended some of the shows. Basically, it was the Bloemfontein, South Stanley Junior, South Stanley Infants and Greenland. They were the auditions for the grand final showcase, which is held a week come Friday in this building, and it's near enough to sell out already. So, and it's kids with various talents. All the councillors were amazed that kids so young could have so much talent, not just singing or dancing. There was a lot of various things, and I would recommend anybody to come along and just see what these kids can actually do.
Thank you, Councillor Timby. On the 21st of February, Town Mayor attended the larger local councils forum. I don't know if the leader has anything to do with that in his reports.
Yeah, I want to just briefly mention that.
So Councillor Marshall can pick that one up. That was the only events. In terms of other notices, obviously, as always, we're recording the meeting. There's another member of the public recording the meeting. Is anyone else present recording? No? Could you please make sure your phones are either off or set to silent so we don't get interrupted? And as always, if you please wait until you're recognised by the chair before speaking and then stand when speaking. Just one other thing, just a reminder, would members please let Nicola know whether or not they can attend the Town Mayor's Awards, because we've not had everyone respond yet. And also, just for those who have nominated people for awards, just to have a chat with your nominees to make sure that they can respond to Nicola's letters as well, so that we can get all those bookings confirmed. I've got one other announcement, or were you going to do that? Yeah, okay, that's fine.
Right, we move on.
Yeah, apologies. Yes, obviously the Town Mayor was also present at the West End Memorial on the 16th, as were many other members.
Right, item 4 is the leader's statement.
Yes, Mayor. We're making strong progress with the development and implementation of the community events plan for 1920. The programme we've set out in the medium-term plan is very varied. The report of the events meeting held on the 29th of January sets out the who is responsible, where and when, which means for the first time we can diary for the year and contribute or attend if we so wish. It is intended to offer all members the opportunity to preview the cinema after this meeting. So we've got it all set up, but if you have any questions about the cinema and anything like that, sure we can just do that informally outside the meeting when you see how it works. So, our clerk, the Mayor, and I attended the CEDAW larger councils forum on Thursday, 21st of February. Topics discussed included a report on standards in public life, the allotment transfer from DCC, County Durham Plan, risk assessment training, safeguarding children, Armed Forces Day, and a closer collaboration among parish councils. It was quite a large agenda that went on from start at 10, it was after 1 when it finished, and nice lunch at the finish, so they really looked after us across St Burton. Can I just say that the allotments, what we did, we explained why we weren't taking allotments on from Durham County Council, the problems that already existed in the allotments, that they'd missed the opportunities when this parish council was first formed to pass it over to us. And we, different parish councils deal with it in a different way, and we explained about the double taxation effects of non-parish areas still having to be run by the county. The problem doesn't exist in some areas because they've already got parish running allotments, but there's others that were in agreement with us, but it is difficult. Bishop Auckland offered us some advice which I'll bring back here on dealing with horses on allotments and that type of thing. So there's quite a bit informal stuff went on besides that in the meeting. The risk assessment training, well, we're going to bring that back here, and what we're doing with that one is intended to offer risk management training to all councillors and staff. I hope as many as us as possible can attend. Dates will be announced soon when that's going to be on. When I spoke to the clerk today, what we talked about was put one on during the day and one in the evening, so that we can choose, and we really need to get into risk assessment and get that properly organised. It's an item that's been raised with us by the auditor, and the presentation from at CDAL was quite interesting on that. So that's my report.
Thank you, Councillor Marshall. And the next thing is item 5, public participation.
I have received no questions from the public, and is there any questions from the no?
Item 6 is confirmation of the minutes of the last one.
Chair, I would just obviously point out, I don't know if all members have read their emails this afternoon. We did send we did have a couple of inaccuracies pointed out which we corrected in the minutes. If anyone hasn't seen the email and wants me to just clarify what those are, then please let me know and I'll cover those now. Everyone seen them? Right, okay.
Item 7. Sorry. Oh, yes,
Agree.
we do.
Let's agree.
Does everybody agree the minutes?
Agree.
Next is item 7, committee minutes. Council to receive the minutes of the Finance and General Purpose Committee held on the 13th of February.
It's ready for receipt, Madam Chair.
Everybody agreed? Yeah. Item 8, recommendations of the committee, attachment C. At the meeting on Wednesday the 13th of April, the Finance and General Purpose meeting.
I'll say February on the agenda, Chair. I know I don't do time vote, but this one isn't.
Yeah, it's me. Sorry. Council is requested to consider these matters and decide what to do. Number 1 is the council should adopt the strategic grant policy presented for consideration.
If there's no objections, Chair, maybe members will take them all
Do you want to take them all together?
Can I just make a comment about the strategic grant policy? Just at, sorry, excuse me, just at 3.1, it actually says will give priority to organisations which are based in the town. And it was just, do you believe it just broadened that to say, it's a bit pedantic, but it's just so that people can see. That makes it sound as if it's only organisations in the town of Stanley, whereas this is for so much wider than that.
Change the word to parish.
Yeah, or, you know, Stanley and outlying area, or covered by Stanley Town Council.
Stanley Town Council area.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some people might not realise it's a parish.
Yeah. Is that agreed?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well spotted. Subject to that amendment.
Right, yeah. Subject to the amendment, is everybody happy?
Yeah.
Yeah. Item 9 is the Stanley Fund.
Do you want to come up here?
Whatever works.
Please do, I'll come and sit with you.
Yeah, they're all thanks. I don't know how people would like to do this. I think you've all had the papers around outlining a term of reference. I think the last time I was here it was about putting the idea together for the Stanley Fund. I guess what it's worth just outlining, since that presentation we recently had news that we had secured Department of Culture, Media and Sport funding from central government to contribute to the Stanley Fund. It is one of just 6 UK-wide pilots that has been supported by central government, and it is for up to £50,000 per year into the Stanley Fund. So that will be coming in. We, hand on heart, it was an appalling application form, an appalling proposal, caught up in the midst of Brexit, if we are absolutely honest with you, where the decisions were delayed and we didn't know what was happening. We have some meetings coming up where we will get greater clarity as to how that money can be used, but it is very much for Stanley and the Stanley Fund. Some will be admin, some will be effectively going into the proposal for grant making. And I think people are watching Stanley is the other thing with interest to see how it all works. But other than that, I think, you know, in terms of movement on funds, we still have that commitment from the council, the PCBC, ourselves. The extra cash coming in from the Department of Culture, Media and Sport, and really what Alan asked us to do was start outlining how it would work as a fund fundamentally, and it's whether you want us to go into any detail, whether you'd rather us take questions based on the paper as to how we've put one idea forward in managing that community-led fund and panel.
Colin?
I think, first of all, thank you for the work you've done on this, because it's come together fairly quickly. Things don't often move this quick, and I think we first had those conversations with the council and looked everything up, and then we've got all the major decisions and we've got on the background and pulled everything together. So thank you for that. I think that for me it's about sort of building the excitement and then launching the fund, which we want to talk about next in the agenda around the parish meetings. So I won't say too much on that. But what I would say is that I think that the Community Foundation, you've got tried and tested ways of allocating funds. You the guys who are experienced in this, which is why we've entered into those partnering arrangements. The clerk produced a report based on the meeting and the discussions he's had with you. I think we've responded to that. So I think the agenda item is basically to sign that off, and that includes the makeup of how some of the say we want to have on how the allocation fund would be. The panel will be made up, and we think it would be good to cast out net far and wide from people living in the Stanley area to get a broad range of different views on there. and hopefully some new blood coming through as well, which would be good. The fact that we've got a medium-term plan, which majority of councillors on the council stood for at the election, and the priorities in there are sort of overwhelmingly endorsed and backed by the public, so we needed to fit into those things, which I know a lot of the broad aims of the Community Foundation fit into all those things anyway. So I think it's very much a case of let's crack on with it, and look forward to trying to work with you to launch the fund, and then also more importantly to grow the fund, because I think once we get the projects coming through and get the community talking about it, gives us something to sell to the private sector and to try and look to get more money in to maximise the amount of money that's going out to our community.
Thank you. Has anybody else got any questions? Dawn?
I had funds invested at my company are seen to be obviously because it's a pension fund, to be taken. That's my reason for being cautious. And I do have ethical reasons with investments, and I do. That's my kind of concern. How, because we all know it's coming. We all know that word that nobody wants to say is coming. So that's my concern. And until I get over March the whatever, or
July or 2021.
Yes. I do have concerns about investments.
Yeah. So to reassure you, this initial pot of money is the equivalent to your current account. So it is going to sit in a bank account. If you want, it's the equivalent to you stuffing it under the mattress. So right now, the money that is being pulled together for years 1 and provisionally for years 2 with the Stanley Fund are yours under that mattress, and are not going to be adversely affected by the markets, other than the fact that they aren't under the mattress, they are in a bank account, and we're trying to get the most interest out of them that we can. Longer term, there is a view to try and build an endowment fund for Stanley to ensure the sustainable grant-making activities in Stanley. That is not going to happen in years 1 or years 2. To be perfectly honest with you though, we all know the markets go up and go down over various times, so if we get to that point of making an endowment, actually I think that would be a huge success for where the Stanley Fund has got to. And then I think hopefully there will be comfort that actually the markets will go up and down. The only other comfort I can then offer you in that cycle of investment volatility is the fund managers that we use are about as good as you can get in this volatile market. To put that in context, as of December 2018, when the accounts came in for our longer term savings, they had yielded 3%. The market comparators had yielded minus 1.5%. It's back to that risk versus reward. And we sit there nervously waiting, and I'll be very honest with you, come March the 31st, that's our financial year end, it will determine how much money we draw down from our endowments for next year's grant making. And we are in a position where we don't know what to do, because will the markets be good for March the 31st, or actually will the markets go down? Will they go up? What do we draw down? And the other thing is, actually in this time of need we may need to draw down more cash than we normally would, because the markets may have an adverse effect on the people that need our support. So there's one theory that the food premium prices are going to affect those that can't afford it the most. So actually do we look to support those more? So we're in this really funny position, trying to look after the investments, but actually talking about drawing down more investments if the demand is there, because that's what we do look after people. But to answer your question, you're basically stuffing the money for the years 1 and 2 of this under the mattress. It's not going into any marketplace, and therefore won't suffer any volatility. It won't grow either, but I think it's really growing in the current market. Does that help?
Yes, in a way, and I was, like several of the members were partly doing inside when we lost.
Yeah.
Sorry, a huge amount of money. But
What money?
well, we didn't lose it.
We've got it
We
back,
got it
didn't
We
we?
got it back,
Exactly.
£7 million, but Stanley didn't say any of it.
Well, because I've had conversation with my company, you know, people who invest my money,
Yes.
I'm kind of, you know, it's not my money,
Yeah,
and I'm worried about mine, so I'm going to be worried about somebody else's.
and I'm worried about
Yes.
somebody else, I'm worried about 200 people's funds,
Yes.
and I respect your worrying. And the good news is my trustees share those worries, and therefore we try to take extra care in managing who looks after that money and tries to reduce the risk when it's at the highest and maximise the return when the opportunity is the best. But this fund is not actually exposed to that market risk at this time.
Any more questions? Mark?
Thanks. Madam Deputy Mayor. It's a bit of a mouthful, isn't it? Just like to have a look at the recommendation, if possible. The recommendation, the council accepts the terms of reference. Don't think anybody's got any amendments. Nobody's come forward with one for this one. If we can ask the clerk to prepare the service level agreement and delegates authority for people to check on us if there are any typos in the service level agreement. The only one that I think might take some thinking about is the initial period. Is the initial period what you've suggested or what Alan suggested? That was going to be my question. So I'd like to move the first lot, and if you're happy with the 3-year period, I'd like to move that as well. And I should have probably said that before I sat down. But then
The moving terminology is that, what does that mean? When you said you want to move the
oh, that just means I'll recommend that it's approved.
That's, sorry, being language on town council, sorry. So we believe in the 3-year period, that's our commitment. And we think we need that. This isn't a short-term fix to anything, effectively. We need to work together. That is us sitting in this room, that is the council, that is the community groups. The first year is going to be very much an education process for us, for the community groups. It's going to be overcoming some perceived barriers of amounts that can be selected, multi-year funding, which is in the paper, to say if we believe that there's a good sustainable project, we should support those groups. Those are barriers that at the moment groups are not used to, that flexibility and openness. So I think there's a 3-year period is a fantastic period of commitment.
So I move that we
Right, Mark's
accept the
moved those 3
recommendations.
recommendations. Do we have a seconder?
I'll second it.
Carl seconded. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Was that?
All agreed?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's my wrong? You sitting there?
Oh, just, yeah, just,
Yep.
I was preempting Carol saying all agreed, because I was worried that we wouldn't get people's heads here.
Move on to item 10, the annual town meeting.
Thank you, Chair. I have made a report to members to consider the format of the town meeting this year. And you'll see there's quite a detailed proposal on what the meeting should look like, which came from a discussion I had with Councillor Marshall, and hopefully he will move that proposal at some point. But
Amendment of it.
well, after he's amended it, yeah. So hopefully the format and the proposal is self-explanatory. I put a number of optional items on the just for information. I put some optional items on there. I have spoken to Inspector Stewart, who would be happy to speak if you've requested to. He's going to come to the meeting, so it's whether or not you want him to give an update at the meeting. I haven't verified whether any of the county councils would like to come and give a county council update yet, but that again is an optional item. And in terms of additional speakers, I've just put suggestions on there about people that we might think about asking if we wanted to get some additional speakers. But obviously the key thing is the launch of the fund, which is the main attraction, if you like. So I'll just leave it over to members from there.
Anyone got any questions, Carl?
Sorry, just a couple of comments. I think in terms of the parish meeting, and I've attended a few of them over the years, including ones before I was a councillor, I think we've got a real opportunity with this to welcome in groups who wouldn't normally attend, because certainly over the years the numbers of people turning up at the parish meeting have been fairly sparse, and some of the meetings I think have been some good speakers at the meeting, so I'm not being disingenuous for any of the speakers, but obviously looking at the number of people that are coming through the door for the meetings, it's hardly inspired people to come along them. So I'm hoping that through the parish meeting this year we can really build on some of the work we've done with local voluntary groups, which is what Alan's outlined in the report. I think to do that we need to make sure that we've got a core theme to the meeting. Now there will be some things that Alan's going to tell us will have to be reported legally into a parish meeting. So my view is this, that those things we should put at the very top of the agenda, and we should just sign them off en bloc, reserving any questions until the very end under an open question and answer session. What I would suggest we do is we have a report from the leader of the council that gives a very brief update on the activities of the council over the past 12 months, but then leads into the work we've done in developing the Stanley Fund and the reasons why the council wants to support the Stanley Fund. That will then allow us to introduce Michelle Cooper from the Camden Community Foundation, we've just seen, and I would suggest that we ask Michelle to do a brief introduction as to what the Camden Community Foundation does, and the work it's done on developing the Stanley Fund. And then Michelle brings along maybe a group who the Community Foundation have funded in the Stanley area, where they benefit from money, and they can talk about how they access the money and what difference it made to them. And I think that there's nothing more powerful than a group that's accessed that money being able to talk about the benefits and what they've been able to do and the difference that that money's made. I'd then like to suggest that we have the MP, Kevin Jones, who's financially contributing to the fund and whose idea this was in the very beginning to kickstart this off. Ask Kevin to say a few words before bringing Michelle back in to talk about the actual application process and how groups go about accessing the money. And then also ask Alan, following that, to come in and talk about the internal grant pot that we've got, the strategic grant pot, and give us an opportunity to talk about how people can access that, and the process for that, which we've already approved in the grant fund, in the grant policy. That then I think keeps the agenda quite niche. It keeps it nice and tight. I think that any information we need to give in terms of the financial report should be tabled at the beginning. People can read that, and basically at the very end of this we should give people the opportunity to ask questions at the very end of the presentations on the launch of the fund, and also give them an opportunity for a one-to-one with the clerk after the formalities of the parish meeting are finished. I think before and after the meeting we should offer some opportunities for networking, and also maybe it might be something the Community Foundation can work with yourself, Alan, to invite other grant funders along. So obviously Ballinger Trust have done quite a lot of work in the area. We've got the Big Lottery Fund and Awards for All, who they've got money, and I know they're trying to target Stanley to get more money out into the Stanley area. There's other grant funders, Coalfields Regeneration Trust and the EAP, to name a couple, that I think would take stand. So it basically turns the parish meeting into something that the community can actually use, and hopefully use it as a chance for us to get more money leaving Stanley from some of the other funds, and it all links together in a nice theme. So my proposal would be that would be the format, with the networking before and after the parish meeting, with an opportunity under a question and answer session to ask questions at the very end of the meeting, rather than on individual agenda items, which might make things a little bit clunky.
I've written all that down, but the only things that we have to have at the parish meeting are we have to take the minutes of the previous meeting, we have to do apologies, obviously, and we have to have an open forum where members of the public can ask questions and state their views. In terms of the financial report, we don't even have to give that at the meeting. We can produce a handout, which is handed out and left on the chairs. So we can have it as tight as that. We just take the minutes of the previous meeting, we have the open forum, and then everything else can be as you said.
Is there any questions? No? Is everybody, sorry Les?
What the financial report is, it doesn't have to be present. Could we not just reference that it's available online, like Save the Trade and stuff, Save the Printing? Well, if it website. If anybody's got any questions, then they can email direct to Stanley Town Council and then we'll pick all them.
So can I speak again? I mean, obviously, you've seen the examples of annual reports that the council has produced previously, and they're very lengthy, detailed documents. The previous town council I used to work for used to do one piece of A4 folded in half, which had a brief outline of, thanks, we're really proud of doing this year, and then 2 pages of 1 page, in the middle it was financial information, on the back it was attendance, and that was what we used to do. So it was literally a pile of pieces of A4 paper folded in half, which we printed on the printer in the office. We could do something like that if members aren't worried about seeing the very detailed document we produced in the past. I think it's, obviously this is members' decision, I think it's useful to have something that people can pick up and say, well, this is what we spent the money on, just even if it's a very sort of infographic type of thing, we spent that much on environment and that much on events, and I think it's just informative, but we don't have to produce that.
Jeanette?
Just to say, what you did last year, where there was lots of pie charts and it was very, very simple and easy to see, something like that might be really, really useful on an A4 side that people can take away and you can see very clearly what's done.
So the motion then is to have the meeting as Councillor Marshall laid out with a simple report for attendees to take away from us.
Carl's made a proposal, do we need a seconder for that proposal? Everybody in agreement? Yes. The next thing is the West Stanley Memorial.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just placed this on the agenda just to have an opportunity for members to give a bit of feedback about the event, about the how it's structured, what it looks like, if there's any suggestions from members about how we could do it in the future. I would like to see it done in the future. It's really just for members to have that opportunity to feedback.
Yes, my comment would be, wasn't very well attended, considering how many people live in Stanley and how many people are interested. So I think we need to look, like we have to do with other things, how we advertise it, where we advertise it, how we get the public involved. The event itself went well, the band came along and did a great job as they normally do. Great to see the young children that were playing in that band, there was a lot of them, good proportion were very young, and I think it's something we need to have these things remembered on behalf of Stanley. So I think we need to go ahead with it this year, next year, and make sure that we look at the advertising on it.
Anyone else? Could I add something to that, please? I would like to see the local schools, some of the local schools get involved. If we could approach schools, whether it be reading, poem out or whatever. But I agree with everything Councillor Martin said.
Well, we have in previous years had some children from Greenland School. Unfortunately, they've been on a Saturday. And the other problem with the West Stanley Memorial is because we hold it at the time the disaster took place, and it takes place after the school day is finished. So it's difficult to sort of scoop up the children to get them to come. If it was earlier in the day, during the school day, it might be. So it's always been a problematic time, but certainly we can try and engage with the schools.
Greenland's got a bit of bus.
Yeah.
Alex wants warmer weather.
Somebody can stop the wind in Stanley.
Anybody else got any comments? No?
There was one comment that I received twice from the same person, was that apparently, I don't know a lot about miners' banners, apparently they said we should have put some black something on the banner.
That's all that.
I don't know whether that's true or not, and I'm hoping that someone who knows more about miners' banners will.
It's just a mark of respect, isn't it?
I don't know.
I've
never heard it, but all the posts I've got on Facebook about the event, people going, yeah.
It's something to bear in mind, doesn't it?
So get some black ribbons for
Yeah.
Jim.
Need weight on the bottom of the ribbons.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right, we'll move on to item 12, the events working group.
You said this, or? Okay, hopefully you've all had an opportunity to read the report. There's a lot more detail in there about the Minor Sunday event, which was scoped out in some detail, including costings and the detailed proposal. In relation to play in the park, we've got away and we've sort of explored other venues in the sort of locality of where it was held previously. Unfortunately, North Durham Academy want to charge us to use their location, so that's been discounted. And actually, it may be that just biting the bullet and holding it in View Lane might be the best option if we want to have it in that part of the town. But we'll have to come back on that one. There is an update on Armed Forces Day, which obviously not good news, unfortunately, that the 101st Royal Artillery have been our partners on this since we started our own deployment. And I did have an update today that Scott has cast the net wide amongst all the different kinds of services to try and find some other support from Armed Forces, and that's a work in progress. In terms of the actions list, it is what it is. The main decision, if you like, for council tonight is to just have the oversight on the Minor Sunday, which is we've only done the most development on this time, and I'll have to come back to committee once we've looked at some alternatives for where we're going to hold the View Lane Play in the Park.
Anybody got any questions?
I would move the report, as I alluded to, sorry.
Okay.
In my introduction in the ladies' report, I alluded to this, and there's a lot of good work on in there, and we've all got the programme now, and I would say that we should tell the group to get on and do it and organise things. They've got the budget, we've set the budget, so they know how much they've got to spend, and as long as they keep us in that, if we need any more, they'll have to come back. But other than that, I think it's an excellent report, and there's a lot of good work being done in that group.
Does everybody agree? Yes?
Please, Madam Deputy.
Just to say that we had the first meeting, which was a couple of weeks ago. I think that it was a good collaboration between everybody who was there. We're trying to look at what could we do in the budget, but we're also trying to throw in ideas of things we could do that would add some value but wouldn't cost very much. So that's something that I think that, especially for the sort of Minor Sunday thing, where it's going to be, we're trying to attract people and then retain people, rather than you attract them for 10 minutes and they come watch the Miners banner display and then they go home. That was the thing we're trying to add value to it. So that was quite good. I was quite impressed with Scott coming up with lots of different ideas for different street entertainment and various things like that, which was good. It's obviously why he gets paid, but just it worked out. It looked as if it was going to work out really well. So we've got the next one. I believe it's on Friday this week. I hope Friday the 1st. Is it not? It's in my diary for something. Is it? I can have a look if you want.
Yes.
Yes. We've got the next one for this Friday, so hopefully we'll be another chance to update everybody at the finance meeting, which will be in like a fortnight tomorrow. Okay. Thank you.
Sounds good. Everybody in agreement?
We have a second for Councillor Marshall's motion, sorry.
Could we have a second? Oh,
I'll second that if that's okay.
We want to agree now then? Is everybody going to agree now? Yeah. Okay, the next item is 13, the council actions update.
Excuse me. Michelle speaking about the fund. Alan will be bringing forward a report about the funds on the second soon. We've let his feet on the table, he's got quite a bit of it on here. The strategic fund has been updated. The war memorials work, Alan's been set away on this, and he's drafted a report which I will get to come to the finance committee and issue for review. Media consultants, that will come back to the cyclical working group. I mean, the next meeting that's arranged. Pantomime costings, we haven't got costings for that. That needs to be picked up by the cyclical working group. And the war memorial, I think we need to convene that on the back of the report that Alan's bringing about the war memorials in general. So that will come onto finance for next month, that report. And other than that, obviously we've reinstated the cinema capability. We've not yet agreed the programme. That will go through to the cyclical working group also. And you'll get the sneak preview of what the screen looks like after the meeting if you care to have a look at it. Other than that, unless there's questions.
Has anybody got any questions? Well,
I've got a question. It hasn't really got anything to do with me. I know that's Elizabeth Sons project, I think, about the plaque for Matthew Kirtley, which is green, as if everything was fine about it, but it seems like it's not fine because there's a significant anniversary in May, but we still seem to be waiting for some exciting person in highways to get back to us. So for me, that shouldn't be green; it should be one of the other colours.
Sorry, yeah. Sorry, I actually missed that because it was green. No, that is green. I haven't written a little update in there, but that's on target for May.
Right.
I met the chap from Tanford Railway last night actually at that big Mission Stanley thing, and I had a chat with him about it. But yeah, the highways thing is fine. We've just got to arrange for the work to be done. It'll all be done in time. There's loads of time. Plaques only take about a month. The wall takes a day to build, so it's all going to be fine.
Oh, much.
Yeah.
Mr. Cut the paste and that.
I didn't cut paste. I just forgot to play the
sorry. Same thing.
anyone else got any questions? No?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, no.
Forgot all about that.
He was raving about it till I was going.
Update on the police car, what's happening? Because it's nearly 2 years.
Is it that long?
Yeah.
The last I was told is that they were in the workshops at the police garage, and Dave Clark was in the office last week and said that. So I've spoken to him about other things, the road visor and the rest of it in the last week, and I need to get hold of him to say, look, when we get them, because as far as I've been informed, the vehicles have been ordered, delivered, are in the police garages, and it's just a question of when they're going to be rolled out. So that I will chase on to Dave, and I'll do an email, an update by email once I've spoken to Dave.
It's a little bit concerned that it's 2 years down the line now being rental on a higher vehicle, aren't we? So which we haven't budgeted for.
I'll make a note of this. Police cars. I'll get an update to you before the end of the week, yes. To everyone, not just you.
Any more questions? Move on to item 14.
We're skipping at this point, aren't we?
Yeah,
They say exclusion of the public.